So this is the fourth of the 4 videos on the lecture about context engineering with ChatGPT. And here's the notes. So I'm going to be talking about how you build your own custom GPT using a case study about that Socratic learning tool that I made and published. So just a reminder, what are we talking about with context engineering? Context engineering is a new term. I mean, it's only been around a couple of months, but prompt engineering's been around for a while, but context engineering, in manipulating that context window and how the GPT behaves. It's about designing and managing and this whole environment in which it operates to make sure that it's tailored to your needs as a person, as a user, and also your specific task. It's about ensuring the model knows what kind of conversation it's in, what data to use, how to shape its responses accordingly. So you've got your roles set up. So you say you are a tutor who is going to teach people to learn things very quickly, for example. And then there's the context window management. We've been through that many times. It's about what information stays in the room, in the memory, in a way. It's not really memory, because as you know, everything in the previous context window gets sent back to the model. That's how it remembers. And then you can prioritize the data to focus the model and tell it to forget things that aren't so important. And then you need the contextual integrity. And in the previous video, I gave you an example of XLAI that one moment it produced a usable worksheet that had the formulae I wanted, and the next time I used it, it didn't. And that could be to do with my prompts, but they weren't that different. So contextual integrity can be controlled by the user indirectly. You don't want your conversation to suddenly go from the capital asset pricing model to some banana recipe in the middle of the sentence. And that's what we mean by contextual integrity. To keep a coherent, logically flowing conversation, no drifts and contradictions, or you sometimes get caught in a loop and it tells you one thing, you say, no, that's not true. It says, oh no, yes, you're right, it's not true. And then does something else and you say, no, that's not true either. And then it reverts back to the previous untruth. So, there could be a lot of irrelevant information going on. So you can control integrity by using reminder blocks, using project instructions, this sort of thing. So you set your boundaries up front. And you may have to break things down. If it's too complex, get stuck, then use chain of thought. Break things into step 1, step 2, step 3. Tell it to use chain of thought with small logical steps. Prune irrelevant information, that's always going to help. This type I use here is for user prompts, like forget the side discussion about gardening or plants or whatever. Don't forget those compressed recaps and long conversations, that'll lock in instructions. And to avoid ambiguity, make sure that the topic and the scope is very clearly specified. This is where Anthropic Console comes in use, with making sure your prompts are properly engineered. So context engineering has 3 levels in ChatGPT. We talked about the personal and project ones already in previous videos in this lecture. The personal ones applies to all my conversations, and I set it in the personalization settings down, in my my account. So I look at settings and I look at personalization. And then the project, you put those, that's the first prompt you put into a project. You can also add to it by using update project instructions before what you want to update. And that will apply just to my conversations when I'm working in a specific project. And if there's any conflict between those and my personal instructions, then the project ones will will take priority. Now I'm going to be talking about system level instructions. This is what you need when you are building a custom GPT. We're going to use GPT Builder, and you go into configure and instructions. That's how you put those instructions in. And these have the highest priority. So when you're using somebody else's GPT, you don't know what the instructions are, you can't see them, but they will take priority over your personal instructions or your project instructions. So here's the case study I'm going to cover. It's the system instructions for the Socratic learning tool. You are a flexible and engaging teacher who switches modes depending on the user's prompt. If the prompt begins with card, you engage a structured learning system environment. You're going to use cards to efficiently deliver knowledge. Each card has a sheet and options. So you've got the core content, and the options are the navigation, where you go next. You do not proceed without the user selecting an option. This is what I like about it, because it doesn't run off and waste a lot of electricity. You can guide them through the learning path interactively that way. So the cards has basic information cards, first of all, general introduction and overview. Then you offer in the options a specialized list. And then within those specialized lists, if you click on one of those, you can get to specialized information, which is much more in-depth. So you choose the level that you go to. That's the card system. And the workflow is ask for the main learning topic, present a basic information card, navigate through numbered options, branching to specialized list cards or specialized information cards, depending on the level. But if the prompt does not begin with card, you engage in Socratic dialogue. Okay, so Socrates was a teacher who taught by asking questions, so to get the pupil to think their own solution. So you ask thoughtful, probing questions, help the learner explore their assumptions and reasoning, and your goal is to develop critical thinking and self-awareness. And then the tone. Got to be warm, reflective, precise. You gently prompt. You're not going to talk like Monday on a bad morning or Donald Trump. And you adapt fluidly between guided exploration and structured learning to support rapid, deep understanding. Okay, so that's the system instructions. And here's an example. So I put in card value at risk, and this is what I got back. Actually, I had to correct some of this because it wasn't entirely correct. But value at risk is a foundational risk measure used to quantify the potential loss in value of a financial portfolio over a specified time period and confidence level. It answers the question, how much could I lose with X% confidence over Y days? And then as I said, I edited that a bit. So I've got a full stop here. And then these are the structured sheets you can go into. The options are types of VAR model, interpreting VAR in practice, mathematical formulation and assumptions, applications and limitations. So I choose an option at this point. I could go to 1 or whatever. I think I went to 3. There we are. Yes, specialized information card 3. And again, I had to correct this. It wasn't entirely. I'm not building the engine it's based on. It's searching the internet. Didn't have my lecture notes available either because I use different notation and things like that. So it's just getting it from the internet. It wasn't very nicely explained, so I've corrected it in case it confuses my viewers. And so here's the mathematical formulation of it. And then these are the more detailed information. Do you want me to draw a graph? Change the distributional assumptions, return to the main part. And so I can go on and on. I can go up to the main menu, and I can go down to a couple of options, and they will have other options and so forth. So this is how I'm learning stuff using this tool, because I don't want to keep generating lots of useless information. So I use it a lot when I'm teaching myself. I'm going to teach myself about agent AIs very soon, so I'll be using this tool to do it. In the Socratic mode example, the user prompt can you explain value at risk in the Socratic mode? Got this is exactly, I didn't have to edit this. And that's a great topic to explore. But can I ask you a question first? How would you distinguish between volatility and downside risk? And so I then respond, volatility is variation in returns, but downside risk is about losses. That's fine. So if we focus on losses, what kind of question might a risk manager want to answer at the end of the day? Oh, how much could we lose in the next 24 hours? That's very clever. User responding immediately. And then the GPT response goes on to, shall we derive it mathematically or look at a visual example? So questions all the time. So let me just show you that tool here. So these are my recent ones that I've been using. But if you go to the general GPTs, and you can go to my GPTs in the top right corner here. And so here they are. These two have been used and published. And I'll do card, hope it works, card. Actually, it should be little card. Explain agent AI. So there we are, there's the basic information card. It gives a summary here. And then lots of options. So shall we look at reinforcement learning and adaptation, all these are all rather advanced for me. How about number 2, how agent AI works? Okay. And then even more detailed, dive into each of these: sensing, planning, acting, go back to the basic. I could ask a specific question or change direction. Isn't that great? But if I don't proceed in card, I'm already in the card system. But if I didn't proceed with card, explain agent AI. So let me go back to the beginning. Or maybe I'll just try putting it into 4.1. That will change it, I think. No, it doesn't. All right. So I'm just going to say, or get this context from window. Stepping out of the basic card-based. And what is agent AI? Hopefully it will go into the Socratic mode now, because I didn't start with a card. Yeah, so there's the Socratic approach. And I mean, this is a fairly new AI. It hasn't been used very much, but the more people use it, the better it gets. So do have a go at it, please. I think it's a really good learning tool. I should actually perhaps show you a little bit more about its setup so that you can think about how to set up your own. So this is, I can edit it here. So in the configure screen, you give it a name, and then you put in a description. And these are the instructions that I showed you in the slides. And then you have to have some conversation starters. I didn't actually change any of these conversation starters. It might be better if I did. I'll update it. I can always edit it and update it any time. So that's the configure screen. And then this preview shows how it works. So this operates in exactly the same way. On the create, this is where I can change the configure. If I want to change the instructions or change the conversation starters, I can use the create. And this is where the no coding comes in. because I explain what I want to have, for example, in conversation starters in words, but then it's coded in automatically in configure. Give me some sample conversation starters, which are card, colon, explain agent AI. And another one, a different one, will be, what are agent AIs? Question mark. That'll do. Hopefully it works with that. And let's have a look at configure. There we are. Card, explain agent AI. What are agent? And there's a card, introduction to quantum computing. And how do you define justice? I will just call that, what is quantum computing? Okay. So that's it. And that's the end of this lecture. The next one will be on agent AIs when I've taught myself about them.